All right, so as Joe Biden's poll numbers continue plummeting, even the New York Times, they can't hide how bad things are looking for Joe ahead of 24, and that means November 5th. A new poll by Times and Siena College asked voters if they generally remember the time that Donald Trump and Joe Biden were each president as mostly good or mostly bad years for America. 42% of voters say they remember the Trump presidency as mostly good. Look at this part. Only 25% can say the same thing about Joe Biden. 46%, almost half of voters, say the Biden presidency has been mostly bad for America. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway, former White House chief of staff, Reince Priebus. Kellyanne, you're the pollster. Add that to the demographic shift and the loss of the base that Joe is experiencing of his coalition. Not good for him.
Oh, it's terrible news. Poll after poll by any outlet basically says the same thing. What's important about the question you just showed, Sean, is the way that polling question is framed is precisely the way the question is framed by the voter as he or she goes into November. They're basically saying it's a binary choice. I can judge both Biden and Trump as presidents who have had a record on inflation, on the border, on crime, on Ukraine, on the Middle East, on anything they want to examine. They're going to compare that. That's a 30-point differential. Joe Biden is negative 21, 25 mostly good, 42 mostly bad, 46 mostly bad. Donald Trump is plus 9. It's a 30-point differential. And it's also reflected in the swing state polls. What this says to me as a pollster is voters are mostly nostalgic about, hungry for, and poised to vote and support the Donald Trump presidency again this fall. I think Trump 2024 is the best of 2016. Reince and I were there. The hunger, the swagger, the underdog underestimated Donald Trump with that 4-year record as president. And people, you know, the Democrats are going to overplay it on abortion on January 6, 2021. We've had January 6, 2022, 23, 24 since then. And voters are saying every single January 6 since then, I've been less prosperous, less safe, more nervous, and things just seem more chaotic, more crisis-ridden, and less fair to me and my family.
And now Reince on trial. I've been saying that Trump has now basically defied all conventional political gravity up to this point. They arrest him as poll numbers go up. Is that going to happen when they try him? Joe certainly can't run it on the question of whether you're better off than you were 4 years ago with a straight face. So January 6th is abortion, democracy in peril, and Republicans are racist, sexist, et cetera. Will that work in this economic environment? Will that work with the world basically on fire, in large part because he's abdicated America's role on the world stage?
Well, definitely not in this case. You know, interesting, speaking of these polls, on your question, the media hasn't taken notice of one thing, even though we've been talking about it quite a bit, but the mainstream media, I mean, the issue of democracy. I mean, they've spent years talking about the fact that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, yet in all these polls, both Biden is either worse than Trump on this issue, or they're tied. And why is that? They're tied because there's actually half the country that sees disqualification through litigation as bad. They see a border that has no, that's an open floodgate is bad. They see sanctuary cities as bad. They see 87,000 IRS agents as bad. Lawlessness in the streets are bad. Right now, 26% of the American people aren't even paying attention to these cases. But if they are, the one line that, and President Trump, when he walked out of the courtroom today, and I watched it a couple times, the thing that he said that's the most obvious and speaks to those 26% of the people that are paying attention is he said, we've got lawlessness and crime outside of this courtroom, and we've got 14 prosecutors inside the courtroom. And the American people pay attention to that. So yeah. I think that this is not the case. This is not the case. Yeah. And if I could bet on DraftKings and acquittal was a choice, I'd probably take that bet.
Well, we'll see. 203 days to go. Perfect time to start a trial from 8 years ago when the statute of limitations passed. We'll continue straight ahead.